Welcome to the SFU President Dream Colloquium. Thank you for joining us, Dana, today. My name is Shani. I'm a second-year PhD student in Gender, Sexuality, and Women's Studies.
My name is Dana Claxton, and I'm of Hunkpapa descent, but also my Lakota name is Hunkpapa Wee, which is woman who sits at the opening of the Camp Circle Woman. Currently, I am of the unceded territory of the Tsleil-Waututh people located in Vancouver.
Thank you for that. I'm recording this from the unceded territory of the Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh nations as well. I want to pick up on this because as an immigrant, I feel I have a different relationship to the land. Can you tell me your relationship to the land and what does it feel to you when you talk about the land acknowledgement?
Thank you for that question. I think it's really what it makes me feel like or think about is to be, have a type of critical and spiritual consciousness as to where I am situated in the land, and that I'm on, Salish territory. And they have a very specific relationship to the cedar, to the ocean, to the mountain. And so I always want to carry that with me, and in their sort of, their time immemorial history that's here.
I know you were at SFU in 2010 as the Ruth, Wynne, Woodward chair. Can you talk a little bit about your time there and what are the most memorable events that happened and how has it impacted your research?
I have to say it was a very foundational time for me to be at SFU doing the research chair. And I'm also an alumni of SFU in the Liberal Studies Department.
Nice.
And I did do a couple of years in an undergrad program as well there up on the mountain. And then I did my graduate degree downtown. So when I saw that call for the research chair, I thought, oh, well, I wonder if they take artists. And so I put together my proposal and was pleased and grateful to be, shortlisted. I'm not sure the whole process, but interviewed and then was the successful incumbent. And for one, what it allowed me to do in terms of teaching contemporary Indigenous art is that I'm not an art historian, and but prior to that, I was teaching at Emily Carr, primarily teaching, it was topics in contemporary Indigenous arts. And so with the research chair, it encouraged me and inspired me to think about, for one, where we were in Salish territory, and also to think about specifically Indigenous women's art. And so I designed a course on contemporary Indigenous female art, and it was wonderful. It really was. And I opened it with the first modules on Salish art, Salish women's art, whether that was carving or painting, and of course the weaving and knitting as well. Yeah, so it was really great to think about that. And then I taught another course called Who's Your Mama?
Okay.
And it was so much fun because I'm not in the sciences, but I was looking at who's your mama in terms of a spiritual idea of Mother Earth.
Right.
And so we looked at different feminist literature and analysis and different, it's Vandana Shiva. So it was great to think about that as well in terms of a, women's and gender studies course, and looking at sort of Indigenous ideas that we're living on a mother, we're living on a woman, we live with a woman, the earth is considered, feminine, female. And so, what does that mean that, through Indigenous worldviews and philosophies, that this being who sustains us is considered our mother.
Okay, you said you applied as an artist. Was it a conscious choice for you to straddle, your career across, um, your practice into the academia? Like, because I saw one of your interviews and you mentioned from young, you had wanted to be a filmmaker. When did you decide to become involved in the academia? Do you see that as necessary as part of your practice?
It's certainly become necessary, but it wasn't a path that I had thought about when I was younger. But it was when I was in, really, I'm always a late bloomer. It was when I was getting into my, I was into my 30s before I started teaching, and it was really, for one, it was a combination of needing to have an income.
Right.
So it was out of necessity, right? Being an artist,
Yeah.
when you're beginning as an artist, it takes time to have financial stability. Really, it
For
does.
sure.
And so there's artists slash taxi drivers, artist dishwashers, artist dentist. I know an artist dentist, artist. So there was. So I needed to have a steady income, and so started to teach. That's why I started to teach. And it was very natural to be in the classroom.
Congratulations on winning the Governor General's Visual and Media Arts Award last year.
Thank you.
How do you feel about that?
Well, it's a great gift and a recognition of an accumulation of not only my artwork, but also the community cultural work that I am committed to doing and will continue to, whether that's being on boards of cultural organizations or teaching. Like, it's all kind of combined, although it's for being an artist, but what has sustained me as being an artist is also working and being, connected to the larger realm of art and culture. And so it was a great acknowledgement of, I guess, of my work.
For sure. Anne Diamond, in her book, Diversity Counts, Gender, Race, and Representation in Canadian Art Gallery, she talks about how less than 25% of female artists are represented in the Canadian major art galleries. And I know you had your first career survey exhibition at Vancouver Art Gallery in 2018. Do you see that alongside with all your other awards as a milestone in terms of breaking the glass ceiling?
Yes, thank goodness we've had the Guerrilla Girls, who continue to say, let's look at, how do we achieve, gender equity in collections, right?
Yeah.
And that, that they continue. I mean, they've been saying this now for, I think it's, probably 30 years.
So 30 years, oh wow.
They've been saying, look at the statistics or look at the metrics here.
Yeah.
And so, that show that I had at the VAG was, aside from being this amazing gift, was an enormous privilege, an enormous privilege to be able to show work in, one of Canada's most outstanding institutions. And I should say that I've recently joined their, I've recently become a trustee.
Oh.
So I'm on their board of directors now. And
VAG, you mean? Or
yes, yeah.
Wow,
the
congratulations.
VAG. Yeah, thank you. And so, I
so you can work from within to change the structure.
Yeah, and certainly, that's, they're aware of those kind of changes, that have to happen. I mean, I think all cultural institutions are aware of gender and cultural equity that needs to happen. And, so it's a matter of implementing that. But I just wanted to go back to, so, but, you know, having that exhibition at the Vancouver Art Gallery, also I was invited to curate works from the collection within my show. And, you know, because art and even my own practice, you know, I'm not the sole, sort of the individual artist. I mean, you know, to make my art, you know, whether I'm doing a large photo shoot or making a film, I mean, it takes, you know, dozens of people to, you know, to make these works, right? And so,
for sure,
you know, one is for me, the type of practice I have is never just working, you know, by myself. It requires a, you know, somewhat collaborative process.